Hi everyone, welcome to our third heart-to-heart conversation, um, which are honest conversations about the writing process. Today we'll be joined by author Amy Tasukada. I hope I pronounced that right. I'll ask her in a bit when she shows up online. To talk about the importance of finding the right writing process for you. And of course, this is something that I come across in my coaching work all the time. So I'm really glad we're going to devote the next, I don't know how long this talk is going to be, but the next bit of time to this. Before I see Amy's already online, so I'm going to invite her in a second. Before, just in case you haven't seen any of these heart-to-heart yet, just a quick explanation or introduction of what it is. I started these heart-to-heart at the beginning of the year because I really wanted to provide a platform or a space where authors could join me in having real honest conversations about the writing process, about the struggles, also the wins, of course, but real conversations about what their writing process is all about, what their mindset is about, how they keep going, what their struggles are. And yeah, thus far, I've been having loads of fun, having great conversations. I already scheduled the next 3, and those will be up soon. But that is what Heart to Heart is all about. And my aim for this, what I hope to achieve by this, by inviting authors in to talk, to be honest about their own writing careers, is that I'm hoping for other struggling writers out there to feel a little less alone and to feel understood. Because even though writing can be such a solitary practice, you're not alone. Like, we're all in this together. Okay, so I'm gonna invite Amy now. Amy is a best-selling author, and she writes Japanese fiction with a gay influence. But I'll let her introduce herself more. I didn't remind her to have her phone horizontal, so let's just hope that she remembers from 2 weeks ago when she joined me live during my birthday party. Let's see. Yes, there she
Oh,
is.
hi. Can you hear
Hello.
me okay?
Yes, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah.
Oh, good, 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 good.
Hi.
Uh, Hi. This is a
Good to
new
see you
location
again.
for me. So, oh yeah, nice to see you too. I'm in a new location, so I'm like, is this good? Is the background good? We got a picture of tea plants. So
Oh,
I think it's
very,
good.
very,
Uh,
very, very like I'll be like, cheers.
oh, I know. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
I was gonna make some, but then I was worried that I would like have to use the restroom right in the middle or chat. I'm like, that
Yeah,
would
it's
be
like, oh,
horrible.
let's take a tea break.
Like a tea break.
Yeah.
Yeah, we drink a
Yeah.
pot of tea. That's what happens.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's like my life mostly. Oh, there you. I think we lost Amy. So let's see if I can add her. Let's see.
Okay, I'm back now. Okay, sorry. I
Yes.
have no idea what was going on.
No, me neither. Like I said, like but that never happened before. So,
Yes, yes. Yeah, I don't know. New things we learn just together to figure out how to go about this. Okay, so I guess we're gonna start. We should just hop in and talk about what
Well,
was
first,
the
like
writing part. Oh,
I did a very short introduction about you, like
oh, okay.
very short. So if you can say whatever you want to say about your work, what you're working on now, before, and then we'll jump in like straight away.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
exciting. Okay, so I maybe Tasukada, you did a perfect job pronouncing it, so no
oh,
worries about
good,
that.
good, thanks.
I tell people I write Japanese influenced gay fiction because I have right now I have a super like contemporary romance that's very sweet and fluffy and like feel goody. I don't know how I was able to do that, but it's feel goody. And I have this really bloody mafia series, which is not a romance. It does have a love story in it, but the first book ends in a very nice tragedy there. But, you know, there's a love story that continues on for a bit. So I'm working on the last of those books now, which I'm like, it's kind of like almost terrifying because I'm like, wait, I've been working on these for 3 years and here I am stopping them and starting these new projects now.
Mhm.
And there was a while where I was like, oh my, I feel like, what do I do? I have so many options, and I'm like ending this. It was very much like a death, you know, feeling, and then like, oh,
Mhm.
this is a new thing. So that took me a little while to kind of get like that experience of like the death of one series and the start of a new series kind of process. But it was really good. And right now I'm working on stuff that's in the middle of the spectrum of thriller and contemporary romance. So
So you found the
I
middle ground.
have, yeah, I'm like, let me get some middle things in there. That way it kind of sums up. I'm actually going to do Camp Nightorama. I'm going to vlog every day on my YouTube channel, and I'll link it to my Facebook page about, it's going to be about a Japanese host club. And they're like hosts, and we have some kind of morally ambiguous art gallery owners that will help the mob with some stolen paintings. And he falls in love with some colorblind host who is really social and stuff like that. I haven't quite worked it out, but that's why we have camp there to kind of solve my issues.
So you didn't really you're gonna pants it a little bit during Camp NaNoWriMo.
Oh no, I'm just gonna edit. I have to outline. I cannot, like, I can't pants. And this is one of the things. Like, I once tried because I'm like, you know what? It's a thing. Let me try it. And I tried it, and I wrote like the most convoluted story ever. There was like three different timelines, and I think, you know, in theory, it was a good idea because I would have like, oh well, his lock to his apartment key would get stuck, and then that would like that element would factor into the next, like the future plot line and then the past plot line. And so the same events would happen that would kind of set off this memory of these other events. But I think in the end, it was just me telling me the person's backstory. And it was a very convoluted
Yeah.
mess. And yes. And then I'm like, I'm never doing this ever again.
So
So I do
plotting,
not pass.
yeah. So just to explain for those who don't know the difference, like what we do, we differentiate between plotters. So people who like
Mm.
outline before they start writing, and then there are pantsers, and those are just like I'm just gonna sit down behind the computer, or like if you write like longhand in a notebook, that's fine as well. You're not gonna think ahead. You're just gonna write the story, and you just see where it ends up, and then hopefully you'll have a coherent story. Otherwise, you'll have to go back and do. That's one of the reasons why, if you want to be a fast writer, we tell you do the plotting because it will save you so
Mhm.
much time. But some people, of course, it's not your either or. Like some people
Mhm.
are really either or, but there's of course a huge gray area in between, and there are different ways of doing a plot. Like I showed a picture yesterday of my plot, and that looks massive to a lot of people. And you said it yourself, like, oh yeah, I remember like a 10K word plot. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds
Oh
like me.
yeah. 10K is
But
not
there are
about
also
that.
people who just have like bullet points, like a page of this
Mhm.
is more or less how they end up at the end, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But just to make that distinction between the pantsing and the plotting. But you tried pantsing and was like, yeah, no, not my
No,
thing.
never doing
Okay.
that again.
Yeah,
It
well,
was
good.
superb,
Yeah.
especially when yeah, especially when like, I think writing during it was okay, but then when I got like, okay, now I need to edit this, and I'm like, I don't like, I had to throw away if I was going to edit, which I just kind of like put like, oh no, let's just bury this book and never talk about it again. There was
Some
just so
books are
much I
made
would
for
have to
that.
fix.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so much that I would have to cut. And then for me, I was thinking like I spent a month because I did it during NaNoWriMo. I'm like, I spent a month working on this. I'm throwing away like probably two-thirds of the book. And I'm like, that was not, you know, for me, that was a waste of my time. And some people, that's not a big deal. That was their discovering that. But for me, I just got that I wasted all this time kind of feeling. So
Yeah.
I just decided never to pants ever again, ever again. And I stick like, you know, we mentioned that I wrote really detailed outlines. I tell people like 95% of my outline is what my novel is. There'll be like a little side plot, like in my first book, my character like had his shoes stolen, and that was like the subplot that I had. That wasn't in the outline, and you know,
That was just sort of like creativity making its
yeah,
way. But that's the thing is a
get
lot
your
of people
shoes.
think when they outline, like when
Mhm,
they do really strict outlines, then there is no more room for the muse. Well, first of all, of course, the muse shows up during the outlining process.
mhm, mhm.
But then, of course, you can always, you can derail a little as long as the outline is meant like you don't derail too much, but you just in time, you just go back. Like I have the same, like I use bullet points. Like I
Mhm.
look at all my main characters and see how they need to go from A to B to Z. Then I have all the bullet points. Then I see how they can how these stories can influence each other. But of course, if during writing I realize that these two bullet points make better sense if they're connected there than there, to just
Mm-hmm.
switch. Yeah, so it's not
Yeah.
that some people have a really strict, like 95% is really strict to me. Mine is a
Mm.
bit more broad,
Oh,
yeah, a
I
bit more
right. I
open.
think it's yeah, I think basically it's the exact same. In my first draft, I just had like the dialogue edit, and then with the second edit and third edit, it's a lot of like fleshing out the details. So yeah. I think see what happened was for me, I don't know, I went on this kind of like I guess journey. I did this thing that I called like a 90-day author challenge where I vlogged every day, which seems crazy now that I think about it. But yeah. Like how did I do that? I don't even know how that happened.
Because we can do more than we
But I
think we're capable of.
yeah, and I think it was a good kind of reflection tool because I could see like, oh, that's what I did at the beginning. And I've read all these writing books, and to me, this was just like a 90-day because I was spending a lot of time before getting my husband. He was very sick, so I was kind of helping with that. And I'm like, I spent so much time in him. Let me do this 90 days, and this is just focusing on me, and I'll focus just on me. And so that was a good kind of tool. And then the vlog was to help me kind of good reflection so I could see because I was talking to someone or not to someone I was talking to camera but it helped me kind of reflect on what I was talking about and seeing like what worked and what didn't. So that was a good reflection tool which I'm didn't realize at the time that that was really important to me to reflect on my stuff, but now I get that component more so that's something that I need to do to keep um, me feeling perfect. So what I did was I read a bunch of those like writing help books. There's so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Miracle Morning for Writers was one, and what was a good one? Another one was Quitter, which was about quitting your day job to pursue writing. So that was interesting way to do it, and just all these other books. And I was trying like all these different ways to figure out what one was the best for me because I used to write at night
Mm-hmm.
exclusively from like 10 to midnight. And then 45 got elected and then was going after like everybody I knew. And that was very stressful. And, I would get so worried about everything that happened during the day that when I would try to write at night, I was too focused on all the things that happened during the day. And
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't shut that off to write. So, um, so then I'm like, okay, this isn't working because I had this, strange goal to write like 6 books in a year. And that was like, that's the thing I wanted to do. And looking back, I'm like, I probably didn't need to set that horrible goal for myself because it's not like I got a ribbon and say, see, hey, you accomplished that. But that was in my head what I wanted to do. So I am like, at that point, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do that with this kind of not writing at night and not getting that stuff done. Like that process I had before, which was working, was broken. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to find this new process. That way it can help me reach that goal I wanted. So that's why I started this 90-day journey to figure out and just tried everything to figure out what it was. And I ended up finding the process at the end that works best. And I've been and it's not something that stays constant. Like I've been adding like new points and I've been taking points away. And it's something that changes. I know a lot of people it'll change per book. Like this book I wrote really well during this. And sometimes it changes per, per you, per season or whatever. But I
Mm-hmm.
think it's really about finding what exclusively works for you and what works for you at that time and not being afraid to like say this isn't working anymore. Like it worked and now it's not, and just being okay to quit that.
Yeah, so it's not just about finding out like a writing process, because that's what I realize. It's interesting how many clients I've been getting who just need permission to do something the way they want to do it, or they need permission.
Yeah.
For example, I have one client who was always like also reading the writing books, but then go
Mhm.
like, okay, so this person says I need to do it this way, so I'll try it all the way. Oh, it's
Mhm.
not working. Okay, well, get rid of that book, find another book, and then try it
Mhm.
entirely this way. And we had, like, I think we had in our first session, so she did the 3-month program that I have. And
Hmm.
already during our first session, did none of the books have something? Oh, Amy's gone again. Let's see. I can no longer add her. Amy. Oh, that's she, is she?
Okay, sorry about that. I think my
I've
internet
gone.
has been spotty the past few days, so I think that's what's
Oh,
going
that
on.
could
I
be
don't
it.
know.
Yeah. Oh,
I
well,
don't
you're
know
back.
what's going
You're back.
on. But I'm back. I will always
Okay.
come back. Don't worry.
Yes, very good. Great, thank you. Now, so what I was saying is
Mhm.
that, I asked like, okay, are there any things that are working for you? Like, can you take bits and pieces? And she was just like, wait, is that, can I do that? I was like, yes, yeah, you can,
Mhm,
absolutely.
mhm,
You can go like, yeah, I like this part, but I don't like this part. Oh no, that doesn't resonate. And you can be very eclectic. So but what you're
mhm,
saying
mhm,
is not, and actually this same client, one of her biggest fear that sort of, so one of the things what I do in my program is we reflect every few weeks on how are you
mhm.
doing, what are your obstacles now, are any new fears popping up, any fears have been resolved, and one of the new fears popping up at the end of the program was that now she had this writing process, so I'm hoping
Mhm,
she'll watch this, that we had this, she was like, now I have a writing process for this particular series. Like she figured out how
mhm,
she wanted to write this first series she's doing. And then a fear popped up. What if I need to find a completely new process for my next project? But you're
mhm,
actually
mhm.
saying, yeah, that is possible, but you have to be open. So
Yeah.
how did you, because I'm kind of assuming that the first time this happened, that you were like,
Mhm.
this doesn't work anymore. That that
Yeah.
must have that must have not gone without a struggle.
Yeah, I think it took me probably maybe like a month or so of just trying to do the nightly writing and then realize like this, like I'm not focusing, I'm not, I'm not 100% in the writing. Like my mind was, 80% occupied with everything else. And to meet the goal I wanted, that would not be possible, only giving 20% of, an hour to actually focus on writing. So it was just like, we need to stop this. And then eventually I'm like, you know what, let's make this a fun thing, like a challenge. People like challenges, or at least
Mm-hmm.
I do. Like this is the this is the challenge, let's do it. And 90 days seemed like a good amount of time to really switch things and try enough of something to make habit
Mm-hmm.
from it.
Yeah.
And it worked out pretty good. And um yeah, there was always that kind of resistance. And even now with my reflections, I always say like this is my resistance that I had, and what was the reason for that resistance. And it kind of helps, when you are able to sit there and focus and kind of think about the things, metacognition, you think about thinking and think about why you're thinking that way. It helps me at least. And maybe reflection isn't quite good for other people. And it's really just what works for you, um, to figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I think like personally, the reflection, like I've had
Mhm.
it in my own experience. Like I was for years, I was just doing, like I was just heading, I don't know which direction, but I was just going somewhere and
Mhm.
wasn't really happy. And everybody always told me you should journal. And I was like, no, that's not
Mm.
my thing. Journaling is not my thing. No, of course it's not my thing because the moment I bought a journal and I started journaling, I realized why I wasn't happy and that I needed to make changes. So
Yeah.
for me, like in a on a very personal level, but also in the writing, like I do,
Mhm.
the reflection is part of all my coaching. Like
Mhm.
you have to
Mhm.
go, like because you don't know whether something is working for you or not if you don't take 5 minutes, because we're just, and that's very much part of just the world we live in. We just go on and on and on, like you just
Yeah.
go. But if you don't take 5 minutes to just sit and think,
Mhm.
what did I just do the past 4 weeks, the past 8 weeks, the past 3 months? What did I do? Is it working? yes or no. And
Yeah.
if it's not working, are parts working and some parts not? Do I have to change everything? Do I have to change little bits and pieces?
Hmm.
Is it my
Yeah.
mindset? Is it the time that I'm working? Is it the goals that I set? What is it that it's
Hmm.
not really
Hmm. Hmm.
working anymore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
And then, sometimes the process changes, and I think that that sometimes has trouble with people. Like I used to do all my like plotting and brainstorming alone, and then my local RWA chapter started having plotting sessions, and I'm like, oh, this is fun because I went on a retreat and we were able to plot everything for one of my books, and it was just so fun. And then the more and more that I've gone to these plotting sessions and brainstorming sessions with people, I realized how like desperately amazing it is and how
mhm.
I wouldn't say become lazy, but I become like, I'm not sure about this. You know what? I'll just ask them. And
Yes.
so I have this great backlog of books that I have. Whoop, my cat is, I'm in a new
Oh,
place
I
and she's
see.
like, what are you doing?
Hi, baby.
Hi, sorry about that.
I saw
She's
like
just,
this little ear
yeah.
poking. I was like, ah, yeah.
Yes, yes. Hi. No one wants to see your kitty butt. Okay. Um,
We're safe.
so yeah, she's so much fun. She sits on my lap and just about random things. We could talk about this process. So I get up in the morning and O'Hara, my cat, will sit on my lap. And I'm used to petting her and writing. And my little 2 seconds away is just petting her, like, oh, kitty, you're so cute, pet, pet, pet. But when I go on my writing retreats and I have to start writing, it's difficult for me because I'm just not, I'm used to her on me.
Oh,
So when I
yeah.
go and I write there, I'm like, there's no cat. Like, how am I supposed to write when I don't have a cat sitting on my lap that I could pet? And then one of my author friends who has cats that do the same, she brought a stuffed animal the second time because she's like, I like to pet something. So I brought the stuffed animal to put on my lap to pet. So even something as like tiny as just realizing that you're used to having a cat on your lap. So when you don't have
Yeah.
something there to pet, you're like, oh, what's missing? And I don't know, that was just, nothing that you would think about. Like you wouldn't think like, oh, I'm used to having a cat on my lap, so it's difficult to write when there's not a cat. Because,
No, and I think a lot of writers
she's
would
just
also be like, Kat, do you have to be on me right now? Like I'm trying to write. So it's interesting that even
Oh yeah.
those things can become such a part, like such an
Hmm.
ingrained part of your
Hmm.
process
Hmm.
that you're
Hmm.
so good, like you're so conditioned. Like I always need a cup of tea.
Hmm.
Like if my cup
Oh
is
yeah.
empty, when I sit down and open like Scrivener, I'm like, no, I need to get up. I need to, and
Yeah.
often the tea gets cold
Mm.
because I'm
I
just
drink so
writing.
much tea that's not going to happen. What
Well,
I
no,
do,
this
I
is
even
this is
have,
only when I write actually. Then it just goes,
ah,
and then I'm
I
like, ah,
have a specific kind of tea that's the only tea I drink when I'm writing.
yeah, there you
Kind
go.
of like
Yeah,
that inspiration sparks. I know some people do like a candle. Like I heard people say they light this candle and that's when they
yeah,
know they're writing.
yeah, or
Um,
essential oils or
I've
something.
Yeah, or central oil or
Yeah.
something. I'm thinking the screen thinks I fall asleep and then it just locks me out. So that's why I'm touching the screen a bit to make sure it
Ah,
knows
okay.
I am live. I'm
Oh,
not
that might
falling
be
asleep.
a yeah,
I think that could be it. I
yeah.
assume. Um, so if you see this random finger coming at you,
It's like, what is she doing?
what is she
Yeah,
doing? She's like
yeah.
not paying attention. Um, oh, and then I realized like I think a lot of people get distractions, and I think that's something that for a habit that a lot of people struggle with, like the habit to stay focused
Yeah.
because we're so bombarded with everything. And I've discovered there's lots of like timers and stuff out there, like the Pomodoro technique and all these other
Mhm.
techniques. And then what I've come to find out what works for me is I use this app called Forest, and it plants a tree.
I know
Like
it
you
actually.
give
Yeah,
it sites. Yeah. Yeah, you
yeah.
give it the sites that are blocked and you say, okay, I'm gonna write for 20 minutes. And if I go on their sites, it kills the tree you're growing. So just that extra element of like, if you go, you're gonna kill this tree. And I'm just like, no, I don't want
Yeah,
to kill a tree.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That
It's fun
helps. But
app.
then,
Yeah.
yeah, but then even like the Pomodoro technique, which some people like a lot, I personally don't like because I think like I only have 20 minutes, I can't get focused. Like I start getting really like the writing zone for me, like the flow state, which is what, oh my, she's jumped really crazily. So she like the flow state to me happens about 40 minutes in. So if the Pomodoro technique, like the maximum's 40, and I'm just like, but that's like I just got started and now you're telling me to take a break. So I go for an hour and that's what gets me. And then usually by when the hour is up and the timer goes off, it's like interrupting me and I'm like, ah, go away. And I sometimes even forget to set the second hour because I'm just so stuck in that flow state that works. So, you know, the Pomodoro technique that has all these like really nice critics and people say that that just doesn't work for me. And that's just from experimentation, trying it out, saying, oh, nope, this isn't working.
So
I'll do
the
this way.
Pomodoro,
And
that's the one with the 20 minutes and then the 5-minute break, right?
yeah, yeah. So you
Yeah.
do like 20 minutes or do you start with 5 minutes? You kind of, it's like a gradual increase of time, but I think the maximum of any time's 40 minutes.
Okay,
And
40.
I'm just
Okay.
like,
So,
no, that's
yeah.
not, that's that. Yeah, it, gradually increases. And then
Yeah.
I'm just like, no, that's not for me. And that's
So
just
you
from
need
trying.
longer
That's just from
sprints. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like when people are like, "Oh, right, let's write for 15 minutes." I'm like, "What's the point?" Like you're
Yeah.
not
Well,
even getting.
I do it sometimes when I'm really
Mhm,
not focusing, but then it's like I
mhm,
sometimes work like I have like I have like a bunch of people that I do this with, and some of them will go. So my co-writer, for example, she's very much like,
mhm,
okay, time, okay, we tell you we share word count. Do another one? Yes. So that's
mhm.
like go, go, go. But I also have people
Yeah.
who always take 5-minute breaks. And
Mhm,
then
mhm.
when they back, they start texting me. And I'm like, I just continued without a timer. Like I'm still writing. So
Yeah.
yeah, it
Or
depends
even,
very much. Yeah. Yeah.
mhm.
Also my
And
mood. Some
even
days are good and
your mood,
some
yeah.
days I need a sprint to get anything done.
Mhm, mhm,
Um,
mhm. Yeah, and that's just what works. And that varies by day, like you said. Like one day it's not a big deal, but the other days it is.
see her
So
again.
yeah, my cat, she gets in the way. If you see any of my YouTube YouTube videos, like she either meows outside the door like insanely, and then or also she is just on my lap. She I got her from a cat cafe, so people would come all the time to like rent an hour to
Oh,
play with the cats. She's an extremely social cat who demands attention constantly.
I get that.
But
She's used
yeah,
to it. She's a little spoiled.
yeah, it's like whatever.
Mm.
I can get on people whenever I want. People pay to see me. Yeah, but even something like word count, like a lot of authors go by word count, and I just
Yes.
don't because my process is to like write a super fast draft. So I'll finish my first drafts in like a week or two. Um, and I just fast draft it. I don't edit. It's kind of like a NaNoWriMo thing, but I speed it up because I'm like, let's
Yeah.
just get this over with because I hate writing first drafts and I
And
hate
how many
it. So I'm
words
like,
are those first drafts often? Like approximately?
oh my, they're very low. Like the book I'm writing now, so the outline was like 15K ish for
Mm-hmm.
the outline, and the book at the end of the first draft, it was 30,000 words, 35,000 around there. And I'm hoping that it will become 85,000 words. And that's like
Okay.
I add with each
Yeah.
draft, and I know a lot of people take away, but I just I feel like a good analogy would be like I'm an excavator. I like to like
Mm-hmm.
go in like an archaeologist and kind of like
You're
brush through the
Like
things
the
with a
Stephen King.
yeah, with a
That's his
fine-tooth
analogy.
comb.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and just kind of like find it, but I take my time. So my editing is a very long process, and because of that, word count's not and like it's hard to be like, well, I edit it, and I do add lots of words when I edit just because of my nature of my editing. But being tied to like I have to write 1,500 words each day doesn't sit with me because I'm very much like a goal orientated person.
Yeah.
So if I don't reach that goal, I will feel super horrible. And I don't want to feel horrible when I write. I want to feel good and
Mm-hmm.
maybe like a push, but I want to feel like I'm doing the things that I need to do. And so only count time. So I try to
Yeah.
spend 2 hours, probably like 6 times, 6 days a week in the book. And usually I spend more. So I count like researching as being time spent in the book, depending on what stage I am in. Outlining is time in the book, you
Yeah.
know,
Everything
journaling
is
from the
writing.
charter's point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And all of that
Everything
is
is
writing.
writing.
So,
I mean,
mhm, mhm,
even this, like for me, even discussing your cover with your cover artist, finding a cover
mhm,
artist, finding a right
mhm.
editor, talking to your
Yeah.
editor, for me, that is all
Mhm.
because it's all energy you invest towards the finished product. So it's all writing,
Yeah.
and too many. I still have like this throat thing. I have like I've had this thing since
Mhm.
I moved here, and it's been a month now. I don't know
Yeah.
what it is.
New stuff. New stuff.
Yes, it's
Your just
probably just
body's
getting new,
getting
and
used
it's
to it.
also the weather has been up and down. Like I had a sunburn, and now it's been raining for 4 days. So
Mhm.
it's
Mhm.
interesting to live here. But
Uh,
yeah, but that's the thing. Is like so many people are focused on that first draft. Those are new
mhm.
words, so they hate the rest of the editing process because they feel if you only count new words, you feel like you're not
Yeah.
doing anything. Well,
Mhm. Mhm.
actually, no, and that's what actually one of the reasons why I love Camp NaNoWriMo. So also like a lot of
Mhm.
people don't know about Camp NaNoWriMo. They know about National
Yeah.
Novel Writing Month in November.
Mhm.
There are also two camps, one in July and one in April. So we are starting tomorrow. But
We
what I
are.
love,
Yeah.
yeah, we are. Da, da, da. So what I love about camp is that you can set your own goal. So for
Mhm.
NaNoWriMo, it is at least 50,000 words written. So I always cheat like last NaNoWriMo, I edited 2 novellas.
Mhm.
And I just counted that as my words. Um, but for Camp NaNoWriMo, you can say, I want to do so many pages or I want to do so many
Mhm.
hours. You also
Yeah.
don't have to say, I want to do 50,000 words. If you do new words, you can also say, I want to do 20,000 words. So you can do
Yeah.
whatever suits you as a person. And I think that is very, because so many people get stuck on the whole, I need to write 1,000 words a
Mhm.
day. And I'm like, no, you need a consistent
No,
writing
already.
practice. And
Mhm.
for some
Mhm.
people, that means 10 minutes every day. For some
Mhm.
people, it
Mhm.
means an hour every day. For some people, it does mean 1,500 words a day. That is totally fine. Other people need 2 sprints. It doesn't matter what you need, but you need to figure out what you need
Mhm.
and then just stick with
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I think something that I know for me personally that I wish I took faster is Becca Syme, Syme, has this course called Write Better Faster, and her theory is to get your strengths finders. Like you take the strength finder test, and it
Oh, that's
categorizes
perfect.
what your strengths are. Yeah, and it's so fun. Like
Oh,
I wish I took it sooner, because I think at the time when I took it, I knew what process worked for me, and I'm like, well, let me see if there's a way to make, fast drafting, like drafting less painful because I hate drafting so much
yeah.
with a passion. And the answer to that was like, no, it's always going to be painful to you because that's just the kind of personality you have with it. So that was a fun class to take just to kind of
That sounds
solidify
really
the stuff I
interesting.
already did. Yeah. Yeah. So you take like a strength finder test. And like for me, it was all about like my top 5 strengths were all about like getting information and knowing all the things. Whoop. And then also a little bit of reflection in there. So it made me kind of relish more my outlining process because I need to know all the things. So it was kind of, for me, it was a lot of like confirmation. Like I'm confirming that this is what I like. So if you're
Yeah.
not sure how to find those, maybe look into that course and see if that works for you, or you could do what I did because like I said, I found that just by giving myself 90 days and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
trying all the different things I found. So, that way was cheaper.
Yeah,
So
so I
all
don't
I
know
had to
what
do
the
was just
class,
buy a
like
bunch
how
of
much
books.
was the class?
It was like $300. It was kind of expensive, but you get like one-on-one coaching at the end, and it's like a whole month course and lots of lecture things and stuff. And she is part of an online group that you can ask her questions with all the time. So
Okay,
to
okay.
me, like when I took the class, it was well worth the money. But I wish
Yeah.
I took it sooner because I thought I would have gotten more out of it.
Yeah, because
But
you
or you
already
could
did
just
the
do like,
work.
yes, I did
Yeah.
the kind of like, let me try all the things. And it was more just like validating that, yeah, that's the right thing for you. And don't worry about trying new things or, that's your system and that works for you. So just, kind of like a pat on the back, like you did the right thing
Yeah, good girl.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
and then also it helped me like, like it's okay if I spend like a year, like literally I am writing, eventually I'm gonna write this yokai story about like Japanese folk monsters, and I have to know how the magic system works because
Of
it's in the
course.
book, and
Yeah.
I just can't start writing it until I know how it works because I need to know all the things.
Yeah.
And that's just my strength. That's just what I like to know. I come to the conclusion like I have to know all the things or else I'm not going to be able to write this as well as I want. And that's why my outlines are like super massive and have everything but dialogue in it.
Yeah, but I think that's actually good because that's the thing. It's like some people, like you said, like what you need to know everything before you start outlining
Hmm.
it. That is also
Hmm.
why actually once you have the outline done, you get the first draft done within two
Yeah.
weeks, even though that's a
Hmm.
lot of resistance there. And then you can write the rest of the, then you just have to add to the material. Other
Hmm. Hmm.
people don't know what they're trying to say unless they're actually ticking away at their keyboard. So they will need a
Yeah.
different they will probably need a less massive outline, but more
Hmm.
a sort of broader idea of I want my character to go there, 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 and then end up here. And these are the sidekicks, and this is the villain, or
Hmm.
whatever, what have you. And
Yeah.
they just need a more broader sense of what's going to happen. And then as they type away, they figure out like the deeper meanings and the layers and what isn't
Yeah.
working. And then they delete something, and then they um,
Hmm.
so that's also it's a very personal thing. And this is why it's
Hmm.
important, like you said, like to try different things for a while, like
Hmm.
for a few days. But like, how long did you with your 90 days? Like, how long did you use?
Try the new things. Yeah,
Yeah.
it would depend on what the thing was, but it would be probably for like a week or two.
Okay.
Like I did the Miracle Morning for Authors one. So I
Mm-hmm.
tried that. And I like I said, I used to
Could
stay
you
up to
the
like
short
midnight.
introduction for those who don't know the book or the
Oh,
system?
okay. So
Just short.
Miracle Morning. Yeah, yeah. It's kind of based on the ideas that you should start your morning and kind of get the most important things out of the way within the morning. And it has all these steps, like you drink some water and you take a shower and you exercise. But it's basically waking up like at 4:30 or 5 or whatever and getting all the big important things out of the way. And he
Okay.
gives you a big list about what to write. It's very good. Like the book is very good if you like never written before. I think one of the suggestions, like, did you know you can go to a park bench and write? I'm like, yes, I knew that. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. So it's
So
a
as
little
someone who wrote a book,
micromanaging, maybe.
yes, yes, yes. But it was very like, okay, so like the first week I tried all the things except taking a shower in the morning because I'm like I do that at night. That's just not my style. Um, but then I would like drop things off, like waking up and drinking 2 glasses of water. I'm like, well, I'm drinking 2 cups of tea, even though it says, don't do tea. I'm like, whatever, it's the same thing. Or, meditating. I tried meditating for, in the morning before I wrote, and I was just like, no, this isn't working. And I tried that for like 2 or 3 days, and I'm like, no. But the getting up in the morning was a long process because I didn't want to like, shock my system and just set
Mm-hmm.
the alarm for 4:30 because I think that was setting me up for failure. So I just did like 15-minute increments. So
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
every day I would set the alarm for 15 minutes earlier. And that was the way I got that figured out. And so that stayed, the waking up in the morning early stayed, but pretty much like the drinking the water, which I substituted for tea. And then eventually the stretching got put in there, but like I changed the order they wanted them in, and yeah, and that was just about a week. There are some other things with the pantsing. Obviously, I tried that for a whole month, and then after that, it was just like, no, no, that's not the way it
Not
goes.
doing that again. But you could, of course, like you
Yeah.
could do that. Like you could try pantsing and waking up early in the morning. You could
Mm.
do that
Oh
simultaneously.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried keeping track of my word count and that lasted about a week, but then I just felt like miserable because I'm like, well, I'm not reaching 1,500 words or whatever amount it was because I meditate and I'm adding stuff to it and I need
Yeah.
that, extra bit of time and it's not the same thing. So,
Yeah.
keeping track of my word count was just is something that a lot of authors do, and they like that and they enjoy it. But for me, it was just like, no, this is making me stressful. This is putting me in a like in a feel bad about myself kind of way because I'm not meeting the goal, and I'm the one setting the goal. Like, what am I doing?
Yeah, why would you set? Because that's also setting yourself up for failure. If you use goals
Mm,
that are like that's the things
mhm,
like I know authors who easily write 5,000 words a day.
mhm.
Mm, great, but I don't hear them when they're in the editing phase. Like I only
What?
see their oh, there she goes again. I only hear
Yeah.
them I only hear them
Mhm.
shout like their word counts off the rooftops when they're actually writing new
Yeah.
words, and I'm like, oh yeah, but we forget to, and
When-
I don't
mhm,
remember. Oh, I think I wrote up. Yeah, I think this is one of the blog posts I write, like to bust the myth of being a prolific writer.
mhm,
Is that a lot of
mhm,
people who tell you to do like the 1,500 or the 5,000 words a day, they forget that you need to fill your well. You have the editing process, you have like the
mhm,
moments in
mhm,
between.
mhm.
Like it's not a consistent practice. Maybe when you're writing that first draft, you can make those word
Mhm.
counts, but it,
Yeah.
that's not 365 days a year you can do that.
Mhm.
Maybe
Yeah.
some people
And then
can do that, but
mhm.
most, no, don't think
Yeah, most
so.
can't.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I read parts of the what was it called? The author journey. I was following someone online who was talking about it. And then I just kind of did what they said they were doing with it. So that was
Hmm.
like, I instituted like an artist date every week. So I would have a date to refill that creative well. And sometimes
Okay.
that was just like, I want to go to the cafe and have a nice cafe and go to the movies or go to the art museum. It was just like going somewhere else and
Hmm.
refilling that well and trying to figure out what that was. And those are fun. It helps me to like I like going to the movies. It just helps me. It helps, like that's how I refill my creative well. I like going and just sitting down, going to the movie and just seeing how someone else writes a thing or movie screen with the images there and kind of analyzing it and letting myself get absorbed in that story because sometimes when I'm reading a book, I focus too much on like it's too close to writing,
Hmm.
so then I'm focused really much on like the word usage and it's just too close. And it feels not that it doesn't feel like work, but if I wanted to, it's hard to just really enjoy a book sometimes now. But I could really
Yeah.
enjoy a movie. Um, Even though sometimes I'm like I still mentally kind of break it down sometimes, but
Yeah. It's
it's
just part of
it's
the,
so different from
yeah.
writing.
Yeah, I can see
Hmm.
like when I read a book and I'm not like when they use a lot of weak verbs, for example. Of course, I'm not only
Hmm.
a writer but
Hmm.
also an editor, so maybe I'm even I struggle more.
You're
Like
the same.
I can really be annoyed when there are mistakes in
Hmm.
it or people
Yeah.
don't use strong words, like they consistently use weak words,
Hmm.
or when they use dialogue tags that aren't supposed to be dialogue tags. What's that? So all the things that I would normally critique on, so that really throws me off. Sometimes I can see that
Hmm.
doing something that is connected, because it's also storytelling, but it's not like
Hmm.
it's not so it will learn you something, but it won't learn you, it
Hmm.
won't give you any ideas. Oh, this is how I can improve my
Yeah.
writing, or this is
Yeah.
yeah. So I can see that
Mm.
it's just different enough to actually make you
Hmm.
relax and sort of step out of the work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like yeah.
Yeah. And then recently, which your writing group, the accountability wordsmith, has been so
Mm,
awesome for me because I'm like, I realized that I really need to reflect. Like I was trying to do it once a week, and I'm like, "Ah, that's not enough. I need to do this every day." So I feel bad. It feels like my own little diary in there because I'll do like the day, and I feel sometimes I feel bad because I'm like, I'm writing so much. I'm like, oh, this is helping me, whatever.
yeah, you should
And
just
I'll just break
that's
down.
exactly that's like don't I really love it, and it's so funny because at one point I was like, what is the, because you started putting the date before it, but of course it's
Yes.
the way it's the American date. So
Oh
that took me like
yeah.
that took me also maybe because I'm a little under the weather. I was just staring at it like, what is Amy doing
What is
now?
this?
But it's the date. You just
Number
actually
thing.
now you're dating your post, and it's
Yeah.
great. Yeah. So, but it's also
Yeah.
just you just type, like you just go.
Mm,
It's just like
hmm.
you
Oh
vent a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah. So it's perfect. Like I like
I
it.
don't even
Yeah.
go back and look. I think one time you mentioned how I put mental and I put metal instead of mental. Like I needed a that have a mental break.
I
Funny,
would,
we all need
yeah,
some metal. And I'm
yeah.
like, oh, that's fun. So like I don't even go back and look to see if I'm spelling things correctly, which
Yeah,
is
you just
probably
use it. Yeah,
bad.
but
But
that's actually exactly when I started. Because of course, this accountability group, I started this for last NaNoWriMo, so the November NaNoWriMo, because Camp NaNoWriMo has cabins, so you have your like your supportive space, and NaNoWriMo doesn't have that supportive space. So I wanted to create like a supportive space. So yeah, this is exactly what you should need that space for. It's
Mhm,
like if you can use that as your diary, and some days people will
mhm.
respond, and some days people
Yeah.
will be like, whatever, Amy, just
Whatever.
just keep
Why do you
talking,
post
just
so
do
much?
your thing. Yeah, that's fine. It's exactly that's
Yeah.
exactly what the group is for. Oh, so
Mhm.
this is a new habit that you started,
Yeah,
just sort of like
yeah.
writing
And I
your
try
like
to do
diary
it.
entrance into the group. Oh, that's cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I tried sometimes to do it on like a real before I was trying to do it weekly on like an actual physical journal because I thought something different would it be it, but it was just such a process. And it would always be um after like the day was done and I reflect on my writing, like
Hmm.
hours, because I do it so far in the morning, like, it would be over 12 hours after I wrote. And that
Yeah.
wasn't helpful. And it wasn't like the habit wasn't sticking. But then when I like finished the 2 hours or I finished the 1 hour just to be like, blah, 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 this gave me a hard time. This is my resistance. And I wonder why. And then working on it a bit more, I'm like, oh, maybe I need to just plot out more about the character and know more about them to figure that out. Or
Yeah.
I was just sleepy or I needed more tea or something like that. And that kind of immediate reflection was easier instead of this delayed writing it out by hand just wasn't working. Um, Maybe because I write on the computer. So when I want to talk about writing, I want to type it. Maybe that's just it,
Maybe. Yeah, but also of course like there is sort of instant accountability because people will read.
Mhm.
People
Yeah.
will read your
Yeah.
posts. So
Yeah.
yeah, there is an audience. Even though I can
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
like I can imagine some people go like, "What are you on about?"
What's that
Because
giant paragraph
but
about?
it's so early. It's so early for you when you write these things. I mean, come on. Like, what time do
Yeah.
you wake up? Like, I know I asked, but
I
for the just
wake
to give
up,
people an idea.
oh yeah. So I wake up at 4:45 a.m. And then I get
Yeah.
about 15 minutes to mess around the internet. I know some people like, don't just start up your book. I'm like, no, that bugs me. Like I need to know, like, I like to know what's coming up. So like I won't answer the emails, but I'll look and be like, oh, okay, I need to email this person or this person's doing that. So I do a
Okay.
quick kind of like double check that there's not the world hasn't exploded or something. And then I just write for an hour. And then sometimes I'll take a little 5-minute break, which is where I post that little, diary
There, yeah.
entry online. Or sometimes I wait for the whole 2 hours to end, and then I post they'll do like all in one, or I reply to myself with the
Yeah.
second
Yeah.
hour
Yeah.
comment, like this is the second hour. And it's really good because it'll be like, this is what I did the first hour, and this is how I'm trying to focus on like what I need to focus on for my second hour.
Yeah.
And then after the 2 hours are up, I usually do some stretching and I drink tea during that. And I eat breakfast during the writing thing too. And usually O'Hara's on me being a pain, but I pet her. And then it is part of the process that I need. I'm used to having her there.
Yeah. And then so what time?
And then like,
What time? Okay, go ahead. No, go ahead.
oh
What
yeah,
happens
and then,
after?
and then like the rest of the day, I finish, like I'm done.
Yeah.
And that to me was such a relief because no matter how much happened or how busy I am, I got the writing, which for me is the most important thing, out of the way. Sometimes I'm able to sneak some writing in at work, but if I don't do that, then I usually just get annoyed because I'm used to being able to do whatever I want. But when I can't, it's like, okay, it's fine. I did it, even though I'm kind of annoyed. But then, like, the rest of the day is kind of just refilling that well. And usually I'm thinking about stuff, but it's like I can read, I can exercise, I can do whatever I want for the rest of the day because I finished the writing. It's done.
Yeah. And there's so many
And then
people who have that day job and they're like,
Mhm,
if only I can get some writing in during the day job. And of
mhm,
course, for
mhm,
you, everything you do get
mhm.
to write during the day job,
Yeah. Is
is a
extra.
bonus.
Yeah.
It's a bonus because you
Yeah.
already did the 2 hours. That is your goal.
Hmm.
So this is why it's so
Hmm.
important to get the writing.
Yeah.
Like I'm also, this is a habit that I really would love to break. Like I write at night. But
Hmm.
having my own company and like being like sort of glued to my email and having multiple projects on at the same time, I also coach a lot of people at night because, and
Hmm.
especially now because I moved up even an hour by moving to Cyprus.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm coaching people from the US around my 8 or 9 p.m. So that's another
Hmm.
night I cannot write because
Yeah.
I cannot coach and then write because
Hmm.
like I will be drained.
Yeah, that's a draining process.
Yeah, not to complain about my because I love it, but that's just something that I want to put all my energy towards it. So I
Hmm.
cannot write after that. So I this is the habit I definitely want to break. I want to
Hmm.
start learning how to write in the morning.
Yeah. Well, maybe do the whole 15 minutes earlier until you get to the time you want, you know. Maybe that'll work. Just slowly
Is it what
incrementing it
time do
up.
you go to bed?
I like to go to bed at 9. I kind of start to get ready to go to bed at 8. So like I'll brush my teeth and I'll try to do some stretches and I'll try to journal, even though that usually doesn't get done. And I'll pack my lunch. So I kind of start to get ready to go to bed at
Okay.
8, and hopefully I'm in bed at 9.
Okay. Oh,
Sometimes if
that's
I
really early. Yeah.
usually, yeah, yes, it's really early, but I have to wake up really early and I do want to try to get my full sleep in. Sometimes,
Yeah.
usually
Yeah.
at the beginning of the week, it kind of is later, which is bad. But then in the middle of the week, I'm like, I'm really tired, so I'll go to bed like at 8:30. I'll go to bed earlier,
Yeah.
just to adjust that because I really, if you're tired, you're not gonna want to write. So I try
Yeah.
to just listen and be like, I'm sleepy or I'm extra sleepy. It's 8. And I'm like, whatever, I'll just go to bed at 8 because I'm waking up so early. Even though I feel like in first grade my bedtime was 9:30 and I'm and I'm
Yeah,
you know,
it's one of those.
I'm I'm
That
yes.
it's that meme. You know, you have this meme. What is it? It's like you have to stay at home. Like I don't know. There are
Mhm.
three things on it, and it says like all my childhood punishments are now like my adult goals, and I'm like, yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
going to bed
yeah.
early. Yes.
Yeah, and there's also the one there's also the one that's one of my favorites. Like I'm still a rock star, like a rock star. I whisper to myself as I go to bed at 9. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, I've been trying
Yeah.
to go to bed at 10 p.m. because for some reason, ever since I moved here, I wake up between 5 and 6, which is
Mm.
in for the if for the writing in the morning, that is perfect. But I'm still used to
Hmm.
going to bed between 11 and 12.
Oh,
So I've
yeah,
been
that's not good. So you're
trying
sleepy.
to, because whatever I do, I wake up between 5 and 6. I don't
Hmm.
know why that is, but
Maybe,
that's just since I moved here. Maybe it's
yeah.
the sun gets up earlier here.
I set
Yeah.
sometimes when it's really bad, I'll set an alarm to get ready to go to sleep. Like I used to have to set an alarm at 8, but now I kind of naturally like it. Oh, it's 8, I need to get ready. But I would set a
Yeah.
bedtime alarm. I would be
Yeah,
like, go to sleep.
I've been
And then,
doing that. Yeah, I've been doing that to sort of stop
hmm,
looking at a computer, stop checking my email. But it's like
yeah.
I do it for like 3 days, then it
Mm,
sneaks in again. So I should
yes.
really do that consistently. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
also
And
one
then
of the
some days,
it's like it's the con of working so internationally
yes.
because most of the people I work with, like I get a lot of work done.
Mhm.
So that's another reason why I want to write in the morning because most of my not co-workers, but the people I'm in projects with, they will be asleep, so it's my time. But that's
Yeah.
why I work a lot
Yeah.
at night because my VA,
Mhm.
who you just won the you just she's also your VA now.
I
Um,
know.
yes, yeah, she's really
She's
good,
making
isn't
some
she?
graphics for me. It's so nice.
Yeah.
I was just like, can you make this thing for me? Because sometimes I get stuck like I'm an author. Like that's our that's my superpower because I can't do anything else. Like I just write
Hmm.
really good books.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna I can't like for me to get to like graphic artist level, it would
Mm.
take me hours and hours that I could be writing books. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm good at. So I rather just be like, here's some money. Go make
Yeah,
me
but
these graphic art.
she's
Because
really like the funny thing is that
she's
she's
so good with
also
it. Yeah.
yeah, and she also writes, so it's really annoying
Yes.
basically. She can do it all. She's really
Yes.
good. Yes, and she's like yeah, she's really like you said, like the stuff that takes me weeks to come up with. She's like, do you want this or
Hmm.
this? And then I'm like, I like
Yeah,
this. Can you change that? Yeah, sure. Do you want this or this? I'm like, what?
there you
Just
go.
that was like 5 minutes. So she's really good. Yeah, but one of the, of course, she's she's like
Hmm.
7 or 8 hours. Like that's the thing. Like we just had daylight savings last night, so now I'm
Mm.
completely off the. So
Completely
she's seven
around.
or 8 hours. I think 8 hours now behind me. So yeah, we often
Mm.
before she has her kid to school and she just had a baby. So before she's up and running,
Hmm.
yeah, I had dinner and then we start talking. So that's also something that, and for my co-writer goes the same. She's an hour uh, earlier, later. How do you say that? I think we're 7 hours apart. Um,
Mm.
so slightly less. It's the same thing. It's like before
Oh
she's up
yeah.
and running. Um, so that's another reason why I want to switch the
Hmm.
writing to the morning because then
Hmm. Hmm.
everybody, like most people, I have a few clients in
Everybody's
Asia, but
asleep. Yeah.
most are in Canada, the US, and Europe.
Hmm.
Mornings are usually my time, and then I can work
Yeah.
whatever I want to. Yeah. So that's one of
Hmm.
my, and that's also a
Hmm.
thing. It's like this is not like what you said. It's also a changing thing. It's like for me now, I used to wake up around 8. Now I wake up between
Hmm.
5 and 6. Maybe that's just something I need to get used to and just get out of that bed and
Hmm.
just start doing it, because
Hmm.
it's my
Hmm.
new rhythm here. So just go with
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm. Mm.
Yeah, so do
And
you want to,
then, I mean,
like, we've also almost been talking for an hour. These
oh,
things
okay.
always go, so like I know my initial plan was to
Uh-huh.
have these 30-minute conversations. And I quickly realized that I'm not a 30-minute conversation person. So
No.
it's always a little longer. But I just wanted to,
Mhm.
because I keep having like my client in mind, who's so afraid that she'll have to figure out, like, start from scratch with the
Mhm.
next.
Oh,
So
yeah.
how do you tackle that? How do you tackle like the moment you realize, okay, for this particular book, and of course you write in different genres as well, so maybe it's connected to
Yeah,
that.
I do.
Uh,
Yeah.
so how do you, like the moment you realize, okay, so this also, like I've been talking too much, as you can hear.
Mhm.
My throat needs a break. Um, how do you realize, like when you realize this is no longer working for me, I need to switch, like how do
Mhm.
you go about that? Like how do you ease yourself
Mhm.
into that? Um,
Uh-huh. That process. Well, I know, like
yeah.
I said, with the getting up early, that was like a 15-minute thing. Usually what I try to do, like when I start a new project, because I'm starting some new projects now with NaNoWriMo and or Camp NaNoWriMo and
Mhm.
all this other stuff. So I'll try to keep the same process because, there's a reason why it worked for the other way, and it probably is either really close or pretty close to what you are doing now. So I just try to keep the same way. And then if it's not working, so if I'm not getting the same output, or if it's not, just inside, it's not feeling right, if that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Then I'll try changing, one thing at a time. A lot of people want to change everything at once, and then you're not no.
We're having a slight
So like I
technical.
know for during the
There you are
summer
again.
when I was writing. Oh, did I disappear? Okay. So
You
should I
froze. You
should I repeat?
froze on. Yeah.
I froze.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Please. Yeah.
Okay. So change one thing at a time.
Mhm.
I can usually feel in myself if it's not working right. And with the reflections, that would help too. Because when you start changing everything at once, you don't know what it was that was working that you changed, or if that thing you changed
Yeah.
or not. So
That
one
makes
thing at a
sense.
time.
Yeah.
Yes. And then I know for like during the summer when I get the whole day off, it's so nice. What I actually ended up doing one time was writing in a different room, the projects. And like in the morning I would write the, mafia stuff in my office. And then the other day I would write the um can like the romance in the kitchen or in the dining room or in my bedroom, and I would have a completely separate location to write. So
Oh, that.
just
Yeah.
pick, the things that you have, the list that you made that works for that story that you're writing. Try changing one thing at a time. different
Yeah.
rooms. If you wrote at a different time, if you write in the morning, then write at night, and just kind of flip them back and forth and see what one was the thing, and try
Yeah.
maybe for a few days or a week, and then you can usually tell pretty quickly if this is the thing or if that's not the thing that was going badly.
Yeah. So if you once you realize this process isn't working exactly anymore, it's
Hmm.
not something's like there's tension, you just go,
Hmm.
your advice would be, okay, know all the steps that you take, be aware. So this is where the reflection comes in again. Be aware
Hmm.
of what
Hmm.
you're doing, what your process is actually like, what does it exist of? And then start
Hmm.
looking, okay, so maybe if you always write inside the house, maybe try a coffee place or go to the library
Hmm.
or go to, and don't go, if the coffee place didn't work because you cannot concentrate, it doesn't mean that the library won't work or that
Yeah.
other coffee place might work because it's a
Hmm.
different atmosphere. And maybe one particular story needs to be written in one particular
Hmm. Place.
place or
Yeah.
surroundings. Yeah, although I like
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
because yeah, that's the thing. It's like often we like this is no longer working, and then we just want
Hmm.
to like toss it
Change
out the window,
everything.
start from scratch, and you're like, no, you can.
Yeah, no.
Sometimes it's just like a little thing, like
Yeah.
write at
Hmm.
night instead of in the morning or the other way around.
Hmm.
Wake up a little bit
Hmm.
earlier, start a little later, maybe even write in the afternoon, write in the kitchen.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
maybe even something like
Hmm.
instead of tracking words, tracking time.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah,
Different
all
coffee shop.
kinds.
I know one time I tried to write at
Yeah.
Starbucks and it didn't work, but then I went to this Korean cafe and I'm like, oh, this is good.
See, but that's the thing. It's
Hmm.
like I always say, like I cannot write outside the home. Um,
Hmm.
but maybe I could. But I just like when I write outside the home, I go
Yeah.
to like a coffee place. Yeah, so
Hmm.
maybe it's
Hmm.
just that coffee places aren't good for me, but maybe a local library would be perfect for me. I haven't tried
Yeah.
that. I
Hmm.
said it and I was like, ah,
Hmm.
damn, I should try that myself. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay, any more advice before we because I think sort of the moral of this story is
Hmm.
it's very important to understand what works for you, and everybody can tell you
Hmm.
what works for them, and that is great, and you can pick those things, and you can try those things, and you can
Hmm.
toss aside what's not working for you, and
Hmm.
keep what is
Yeah.
working for you. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with you if Pomodoro isn't your thing. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with
No worries.
you if you cannot wake up at 4 a.m. and do write at night. Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong, but it is
Hmm.
about finding what does work for you. And then you
Hmm.
say it's also about remaining flexible the moment you realize that it's no longer working for you the way it did.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then just to add a little note, it might not be like maybe like I'm able to wake up at 5:30 and I can get, X amount of books out in a week or a month or whatever. And maybe that strategy works for you, but you don't have the same result. And that's not something to beat yourself over with either
No.
because we're different people. So don't think that I'm going to change this thing and it's working for me, but how come I'm not getting the same result? That's we're just different people. So don't beat yourself up if you thought like, oh, you're gonna have this amazing result, but it's working, but you're not getting the same result, so it must be not working. So it's really just
Yeah.
looking at yourself and comparing yourself to, day by day, not other people doing the same thing.
Yeah. Well, that's honestly, you just sort of like, that's spot on why I wanted to do this series because
Mm-hmm.
there are so many, and I keep repeating this, like there are so many um, people who did make it, like made it big,
Mm-hmm.
and they're telling you what to do, and there are Facebook groups all over the place, and this is the way,
Mm-hmm.
and if you don't do it this way, then you'll fail. But there is
Yeah.
never any like, part of this, of course, like you can influence a lot by the way you write, the way you market, the way often, like how often you put a book out. But in
Mm-hmm.
the end, it's still like there are readers need to want to read your books.
Mm-hmm.
I just had this. I actually had this discussion with someone that there are still people who write 3 books in 3 years and still
Mm-hmm.
make 6 figures now. Well, they're not
Yeah.
publishing a book a month. So there
Mm-hmm.
are multiple ways of getting there. Also, most of us won't get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think it's very fair to acknowledge that. doesn't mean we should stop writing, because the reason we do write is because it gives us joy and it feeds us on a very profound level. But yeah, it's like what you said. It's not as if you see someone getting particular results and you don't get the same results, doesn't mean it's not the right writing process for you. It just says that your results are different than the other person's, and that's okay, because we all have different, we have different output.
Different people, yeah.
So to say. Yeah, we're different people, so we have different. I've never wanted to do the every a novel a month thing. That has never sort of spoken to me. Does she want your attention?
Oh no, she's fine.
Okay. Hey, but go give her attention. She's been really good. Hey, thank you so much for this.
You're
It was
welcome.
good having you on, and I think I think what you said just gave a lot of people a lot of permission to test and try methods and see what works for them and see what doesn't work for them, so they can start figuring out something that is really aligned with what's, just like you said, like your personality, like what works for you, what doesn't work for you. So I'm glad that you came on and wanted to talk about this.
Yeah,
So
well, thanks for having me.
Yes, always. Okay, so good luck. We'll see. Okay, so we'll put the link, like since you mentioned. So for the people listening, watching, I'll put the link to the Accountable Wordsmiths in the notes. And if you want to put the link to that course you did.
Oh yeah.
In the notes, like everything you can think of that was super useful, just put them in the comments, not the notes, in the comments. If you want to join us in the Accountable Wordsmiths, we're going to be more. It's a quiet group. Oh, Amy's gone. Okay, but we're gonna round this off anyway. So it's usually a very quietish group, but I'm assuming this. So I'll put that link up, and Amy is gonna look up that course. Amy, thanks again. I know your internet failed again. I'll see you all next month when I'll be talking with Ashley Shannon, who is my VA, and we'll be talking about what it's like to be a writer while you work for writers. So, and I know so many writers who do also provide author services. So I think that would also be very interesting for a lot of people. Like, how do you combine those two, and what are the struggles that Ashley and I have doing both? So see you then, and also of course I'll see you tomorrow during my regular Monday live. Have a good Sunday.